Hello, good evening, and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, GOIL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, MPS, and indeed, Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, and our media partner is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. Now, if you want to have a grasp of all that transpired in the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to see all that happened here on this show. Tonight, we are streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we are live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are live at Iron Port. Iron Port. We shall be getting interactive with you, and so all you have to do is sit back, relax, and grab your phones and send us your messages and comments ahead via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0559 019 177. 0559 019 177. When the time is ripe, and I pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
Guys, no, I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really?
Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talking about what?
Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from GOIL.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him.
Hey, go for mami.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for GOIL Super XP Ron 95. GOIL, good energy.
GOIL is good energy. Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah, our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, streetlights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the flood have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance. Oh, Ajima, tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes.
sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. We are now going to take a look at the happenings in the port and shipping industry in the course of the week. And in the course of the week, the Grimaldi group in Ghana had cause to christen a vessel after the port of Tema. They call it the Great Tema. We have details of that particular story coming up shortly. Plus, the fact that the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority has joined initiatives by the IMO to go maritime single window. We tell you what that really means. Plus, the fact that Port of Tema and Takoradi have also hosted a floating university. It's a very interesting story. It's a floating university where the students go for lectures, they attend lectures, they do everything right there like you are on a university campus. We have these stories and more for you. Please enjoy.
Plans are far advanced for the rollout of the Maritime Single Window Program intended to facilitate vessel clearance at Ghana's ports. The digital platform will incorporate the activities of shipping lines and regulatory agencies to enable them share information so far as the clearance of vessels at the port is concerned. This is in line with international maritime organizations and next to the Facilitation Convention, which makes the single window for data exchange mandatory in ports around the world. Ahead of the proposed phased implementation of the Maritime Single Window in April, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority has led a series of engagements for the parties involved to help them understand how the platform works and prepare for its rollout. This includes the various shipping agents, customs, port health, Ghana Maritime Authority, Ghana Immigration Service, Narcotics Control Commission, among others. The corporate IT manager at GPHA, Francis Donkoff, highlighted the service offerings of this platform, which is distinct from the integrated customs management system used for cargo clearance.
Maritime Single Window really is about the vessel clearance, It's not focusing on cargo, which the other single window actually focus on. This is about vessel. Before the vessel comes to our waters, it ought to be cleared. Before the vessel even docks on our ports, it ought to be cleared. Before we even start working the vessel, that vessel has to be cleared by certain authorities. So we are building a platform, that will enable all the stakeholders, be it the shipping agents, the regulatory authorities, to share information and share files, and that really is going to facilitate this whole trade that we have in Ghana here.
Representatives of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority and Ghana Maritime Authority indicated their preparedness ahead of the implementation of the vessel clearance system.
The turnaround time of vessels is crucial to trade facilitation, and therefore if IMO is pushing any of such initiatives to enhance early clearance of vessels or smooth clearance of vessels, Customs is more than ready. In fact, we are happy because it makes our work easier.
With the coming on of the single window system, Ghana Maritime is very excited because the International Maritime Organization has approved this and it is working already from January 2024. And as Ghana Maritime Authority is the government agency that represents the country at such meetings, we will be very much excited to tell the story of Ghana, that we are also ready and applying the maritime single window in our vessel clearance.
The Grimaldi Group, one of the largest shipping passenger transport operators in Northern Europe and the Mediterranean, has christened one of its largest vessels in the new G5 class of Ro-Ro multi-purpose ships after the port of Tema. At an impressive ceremony at the port of Tema to christen the vessel MV Great Tema, the managing director of Grimaldi Ghana, Walter Assetti, said the company has been an active stakeholder in the shipping industry in Ghana for the past 40 years.
The arrival of Great Tema is a celebration of the port, the Tema community, and the whole nation. It's a symbol of hope and a source of inspiration, and a reminder of greatness of Ghana. Together, we are setting sail toward a horizon filled with opportunity, growth, and shared success. Thank you for being part of historic day. Welcome, Great Tema, to your home.
A representative of the Grimaldi ship owners, Giuseppe Patani, explained the rationale for naming the vessel after the port of Tema.
So the choice of naming this ship the Great Tema is a clear sign of confidence and also appreciation of this association between the Grimaldi Group and the port of Tema. Actually, we believe that it's fitting perfectly that such a fine ship is named after such a fine port. Also because the port of Tema, from now on, will be one of the main homes of this ship in future.
The Italian ambassador to Ghana, Daniela Dolandi, disclosed that the volume of bilateral trade between Ghana and Italy reached almost 700 million euros in the year 2023, adding that there is the need for more opportunities and growth.
And Great Tema vessel is in fact named after the biggest port of Ghana, which is also a strategic gateway to West Africa. I wish to warmly congratulate the Grimaldi Group for its achievements, and I look forward to an ever-growing collaboration between Italy and Ghana, which will bring more and more opportunities of prosperity and growth.
The Director General of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Michael Lugoje, lauded the Grimaldi Group for their collaboration with Ghana's ports and assured them of their dedication to nurture the relationship they have established in order to create more enabling opportunities like this in the future.
But I'm happy that this vessel didn't come here empty. It came with cargo meant for Ghana, which means that majority of shippers in this country and traders still believe in Ghana's ports, and they have Ghana's ports as their choice of destination. That is why this vessel loaded Ghana-bound cargo with discharge in our ports. We are grateful to these customers, and we are grateful, of course, to the Grimaldi Group for all these years and for naming the ship after Tema and choosing our company because
He said, Ghana has the leading container terminal in West and Central Africa and the leading dry bulk terminal, revealing that a new oil and gas services terminal will be commissioned by the end of 2024 at the port of Takoradi.
For us at the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, our role within the economy of Ghana is to provide enabling infrastructure and systems that will make Ghana the best destination for trade. I think we've played this role quite well, and if I may just draw your attention to the fact that today, apart from Ghana's history as the star of Africa, the black star of Africa, Tema is also the center of the world. So naturally, we have a leading role by birth and by geography. And we haven't forgotten that our governments have supported the Ports Authority to position Ghana's ports in this light.
A Deputy Minister for Transport, Frederick Obengadom, stated that government is keen on improving port infrastructure in order to facilitate port businesses and operations.
This is evidenced by the policy interventions, programs and projects being implemented by the government to bring efficiency, thereby reducing the general cost of business at our ports. Government sees the private sector players in the ports and shipping value chain as partners for national development.
He averred that government is committed to achieve the green shipping agenda.
Government, and for that matter, the ministry is committed and indeed has been implementing policies and programs towards achieving the green shipping agenda. Indeed, in 2023, Ghana was privileged to host the IMO Green Shipping Conference and also actively participated in the COP28 in Dubai, UAE. I want to use this opportunity to commend Grimaldi Group and your partners for your efforts, not only at bringing the state-of-the-art vessel to Ghana, but by so doing, attracting port investment and businesses to Ghana ports through your network.
A one-of-a-kind passenger cruise ship, MV World Odyssey, has visited Ghana's ports, carrying close to 500 students from around the world. The Bahamas-flagged 175-meter-long vessel serves as a floating university campus for undergraduate and postgraduate students, allowing them to travel the world while earning academic credit. The last port of call was Cape Town, before spending 3 days in Tema and Takoradi respectively. It is en route to Tanger Med in Morocco. It is the 6th ever ship under semester at sea, a program run by the Institute for Shipboard Education and Association with Colorado State University in the USA. Semester at Sea offers a variety of academic programs, including courses in liberal arts, environmental studies, international business, and more. In addition to academics, students also engage in various extracurricular activities and cultural immersion experiences while on board the ship. These may include field trips, guest lectures, community service projects, and cultural exchanges with locals at port stops. The captain of the ship, Jan Christensen, the executive dean for the Semester at Sea program, Marty Fessenden, and a few students told Iron Port more about this unique academic experience.
Yeah, this vessel is very special. Like I said, it's the only vessel existing like this in the world. The biggest difference, of course, is that we stay very long in the port stays. So mostly we stay up to 6 days in the different countries, exactly like you said, to balance here also the educational part of the program, so that the students have enough time to explore the different countries, the different cultures, and also to meet, of course, the local population of the countries. That is the idea behind Semester at Sea, to explore the world with our students.
All of these students will tell you that they interact with students from around the globe. Another thing I think it's important to know about this program is as we sail from different countries, we bring on a university student from that country. And so we just sailed from Cape Town to Ghana, and on the ship with us was a student from Ghana, a college student from Ghana, University of Legon. And she spent the week in different classes talking with these students and interacting with our faculty.
I think Semester at Sea in general, and especially global studies, is designed to provide students with a more global perspective. And I think that course provides enough background information that students can feel comfortable engaging in the port countries that we visit.
I've really enjoyed experiencing each country's unique culture and comparing the similarities and differences.
Benjamin Amu touched on why Ghana has gained prominence in providing ship agency and husbandry services for the barge crew sector in Ghana.
Larry, is the experience, the touch of that hospitality that we give the ship, even the students. Some of them always said, oh, Oma is the agent, as if they've been touring or, with the ships or the passenger ships. That is why we are unique. Oma always want to do their best and give you the best. This particular vessel, MV World Odyssey, will surely come back in October. We are just praying that they come because we want more of these passenger vessels to visit our country. Ghana is beautiful and we want them to come and experience our culture.
The Ghana Armed Forces has embarked on a maritime expedition to the geographic center of the world, where the Greenwich Meridian meets the equator. The exercise that started on Monday, March 18, 2024, ended on Friday, March 22, 2024 in the maritime waters around the Western Naval Command. Dubbed Exercise Sea Lion, this Navy-led exercise was to test the endurance and combat readiness of selected Ghana Navy ships. The exercise, which was assisted by the US Navy, also trained personnel in fleet maneuvers, test the interoperability of the three services of the armed forces, improve counter-terrorism operations, among others. Ahead of the exercise, a flagging off ceremony to set the ships off took place at the port of Tema in the presence of the new Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Thomas Opon-Prapra, and the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Evelyn Palmer. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Thomas Opon-Prapra, said exercises of this nature are key in building the capacity of the Navy against emerging maritime threats.
The joint nature of the exercise will help build interoperability for future operations. Contemporary security threats such as piracy and terrorism in the West African sub-region require a very capable and robust personnel, well-trained and equipped to deal with them.
The flag officer commanding the Eastern Naval Command, Commodore Maxwell Ahin, highlighted the tourism component of this exercise.
The Ghana Navy considers this important point or location as a strategic area where the Ghana Tourism Authority could leverage to boost global tourism. For example, in 2019, the Ghana Navy collaborated with the Ghana Tourism Authority under the theme Year of Return, and it was a huge success.
All right, so those were some happenings in the port and shipping industry in our country. We're now going to the global stage to see what is happening there by way of news.
The Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore and the Port of Southampton have agreed to collaborate on green and digital shipping. On March 17, the port authorities met and discussed various areas of potential cooperation regarding sustainable maritime transport. The discussions were in context of the UK-Singapore Green Economy Framework. Both sides agreed that cooperation between like-minded stakeholders across the maritime and port ecosystems of the United Kingdom and Singapore would be important to support the decarbonization, digitalization, and growth of the maritime industry. The partners also noted that the meeting paves the way for further discussions on green and digital shipping cooperation between Singapore and Southampton. As countries embrace tools and efforts aimed at slashing methane emissions, a new analysis from the International Energy Agency has hammered home the need for more action on this front, since the full implementation of current pledges is not sufficient to bring forth the required emission reductions by 2030 in line with the Paris Agreement goals. Curbing the fossil fuel industry's methane footprint by 75% this decade is expected to cost about $170 billion based on IEA's calculations. This spending for methane cuts is perceived to be less than 5% of the income generated by the industry in 2023. Even though methane emissions from the energy sector remained near a record high last year, the IEA's Global Methane Tracker 2024 report shows that they could soon decrease thanks to the announced policies and regulations, as well as pledges made at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai.
All right, welcome back. So it's now time for the word or phrase of the day. And remember, the word or phrase of the day has been fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. Today's word is primage. Primage.
Primage refers to a charge paid by shippers to ship agents for services provided by the agent in Turkish and Greek ports, generally for loading activities conducted by port stevedores.
All right, so we're zooming into our discussion proper tonight. And tonight we're taking a look at the global maritime economy in 2024, some trends and some projections, and some happenings also in our country, Ghana, in the shipping industry. It gives us pleasure this evening to introduce to you our guest, Dr. Emmanuel Kofimbia. He's no stranger to Iron Port. He's been here on several occasions, but this is his first for the year 2024. Good evening, Doc, and welcome, sir. Good evening, Doc. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you, sir. So Dr. Emmanuel Kofimbia is a private legal practitioner. He's a maritime law consultant, and he's also a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. Indeed, I know he undertakes professorial duties, beyond the shores of Ghana, in elsewhere. We cannot go into the details tonight. But tonight, we are privileged to introduce him as our guest for Iron Port. And like I said, we are going to take a look at the global maritime economy for the year 2024. We'll take a look at some trends, some projections, and some key happenings in our country, Ghana, as far as the maritime industry is concerned. So, first of all, I would want to come to you straight up and find out what you make of the year 2023. That was last year. Some of the things that you thought took place in the industry that caught your attention, and that's worth sharing with our viewers.
Looking at 2023 and then coming into 2024.
Yes, sir.
I think it's important for us to try and look at some indicators,
right?
That, if you like, will give us an overview, of the maritime scene, as it were. Because anytime we want to do an outlook, we cannot restrict it only to the straight and narrow.
Right.
It's important for us to look at maybe world seaborne trade, the volumes.
Right.
And then maybe we have to turn our attention. One other very cardinal thing we used to reckon has to do also with the order book. When I talk about the order book, I'm talking about the order for new ships.
Okay.
Because it also has a story to tell.
Right.
We also would have to look at the demand and supply of shipping services. The demand, supply of shipping services, because they also dictate, to a very large measure, freight rates, capacity, etc. Then not forgetting, especially in recent times, the geopolitical dimensions, to shipping.
Right.
We need to touch a little bit on that. We also would need to look at the regulatory framework.
Okay.
Sometimes at the international level, regulation is put in place and it has an impact on shipping.
Right.
I mean, when you started off, I realized you talked about the single window 2024.
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
IMO gave January 2024 as the start date.
Yes.
I hear we're now going to roll it out.
Absolutely,
but I would say better late than never.
Yes.
Yeah, so those things have an impact, as it were, on shipping. So we have to look at that as well. So the regulatory framework is important. The order book is important. World seaborne trade is important. The geopolitical dimensions are important. We also have to look, as I said, at the demand and supply for shipping services. So maybe I could start off by looking at world seaborne trade.
Yes.
It's important to go post-pandemic.
Right.
Because the pandemic levels brought us very low.
Right.
But in 2021, for example, the levels of cargo throughput, world seaborne trade, dropped almost by about 0.4%.
Right.
But by 2022 and 2023, we had seen the green shoots and there was a rise.
Right.
So by end of 2023, we're talking about 2.4% rise in terms of world seaborne trade.
Right.
World seaborne trade had reached by 2022 an all-time high. After coming down, as I said, in 2022, 2021, because of the pandemic, it has climbed up to about 11.2 billion tons of trade all over the world, which was very significant. And the expectation is that in 2024, we are likely to see also an increase, in world seaborne trade. Looking at the major players, UNCTAD, is predicting that you have about maybe 2 to 2.4%.
Right.
Clarkson, Drury, Clyde & Co., who all make projections with respect to seaborne trade. They are a little cautious, or cautiously optimistic, that even though there will be growth, in terms of seaborne trade, they do not see anything very remarkable in the coming years. So as far as the international scene is concerned, we see that 2024 is likely to pick up, looking at about 2 to 2.4%.
Right.
When we look at the medium term, that is from around 2024 to 2028, the medium term, we are looking at a growth of between 3 to 4%, over the period, averagely, which indeed is remarkable, unless there is another pandemic.
Right.
But if there is no pandemic, then that is fine. And then you need to look at the order book, and see are there new orders? The demand for ships.
Yes.
Are there new orders? If you take oil tankers, for example, coming on the back of the gold standard, the expectation was that July 2023 would have, but the pandemic set us back.
Right.
And consequently, there were not many deliveries. So there's been a slowdown, as it were, in terms of tonnage and capacity. So there will be a shrinkage, as it were. So that kind of contraction would also affect freight rates. It would also affect shipping services generally, because I've told you that the supply and demand of shipping services has a bearing, because of the capacity that is out there in the market. So charter rates will be affected as a result. So these are things that you need to have in mind to get your outlook in a position that a forecast that relates to reality. I also mentioned that quite apart from the order book and the shrinkage in terms of the order of tonnage, you would also have to look at the geopolitical dimensions. The geopolitical dimensions. First, the pandemic came, then Russia, Ukraine, and now Israel, Hamas, you know, and the Red Sea and the Houthi rebels, and what is happening now affecting global trade.
Yes.
So even though the United States of America, Europe, they have put in place a mechanism to ensure that vessels are shepherded. Big companies like CMA, CGM, Maersk Line, they've taken a decision that, look, they will go around the Cape of Good Hope.
Right.
I don't know, I think you have something which...
If we can show the visuals,
you know, so,
the production team would
it's
put it
very,
on the screen.
It's very clear to you the distance that you have to cover if you do not have to use the Suez Canal and the Red Sea.
Right.
You know, because from Europe to Asia and Asia to Europe, that is, if you like...
Okay, I think it's on the screen now.
Yes. You can see over there the Suez Canal.
Yes.
That is in the middle. The yellow, which you see in the middle.
Yes.
So you find from Europe going to Singapore, you find the route is short. If you don't make that route, then you are going to add about 3,500 nautical miles. Which will be a steaming time of around 10 to 12 additional days.
Right.
So you will be making about 36 to 38 days, you know, for a journey that you would have used about 24 to 26 days.
You're
making about 36 to 38 days. The fuel alone, another cost to be about 1.6 million pounds.
Wow.
You know, so it is quite clear that coming this way and going around the Cape of Good Hope, you know, indeed has a bearing on the outlook of shipping going forward. So this particular geopolitical thing is important for us in trying to understand, you know, what is likely to happen if this persists.
Right.
You know, already, as I said, Maersk Line, CMA, CGM, they have opted to go around the Cape of Good Hope.
Yes.
Remember that when that happens, immediately it has consequences for insurance. It means that your insurance
premiums
will go up. It's also important to bear in mind freight rates are likely to go up.
Yes.
And in this era of just-in-time concept, you know, when time is of essence for the delivery of particular raw materials, you know, and finished products, it becomes imperative that you look at your timing.
Right.
So if you are adding an additional 12 days, you know, sometimes 14 days, you know, to your steaming time, it has an impact on the global supply chain and the supply networks. Then also, in terms of looking at the outlook, one also would need to look at the regulatory framework.
Right.
You know, what kind of international regulation is in place?
Right.
And we've been talking about climate change. We've been talking about digitalization.
Yes.
First, climate change, decarbonization. The targets to reach by 2030 means that there is a lot for ship owners, shipping lines, you know, to do. And consequently, it has a bearing also because there is a cost element. So when we talk about the green transition, I think it's always important to add the green and just transition. I like to put the just transition. Just because, you know, we from the developing economies, you know, we are at the receiving end, you know, of these measures.
Yes.
And consequently, there is a cost to it. That cost is likely to come back to us.
Right.
So, in terms of the climate change, decarbonization, it also has an effect in terms of the outlook.
Right.
Then apart from the climate change, digitalization, I think your footage showed clearly what we referred to, that by 1st January 2024, all ports in the world, you know, mandatorily should adopt single window systems, you know. And even though we have ICOMs, and therefore we have single window systems, you need to look at this from the perspective of the port, and then also from the perspective of cargo. And then eventually, if there is a need to, as it were, merge these two to synchronize and make them seamless, then it works much, much better. So, in effect, you will see that all of these things have an impact. Looking into 2024, what this would mean, for global trade, what it would mean for world seaborne trade, what we are likely, to come by in that regard.
Right.
If you look at the projections, therefore, while we are positive, and as I said, if you take Clarkson, Clyde and Co., etc., for them, they are cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
Going forward, I think that because we have come out of a pandemic, we have come up in 2022, 2023, there is likely by the end of 2024 for us to see an improvement.
Right.
So an increase of about 2%.
Right.
For 2024 is a likely figure.
Okay.
Now, that is with the international. So, come home now. If you come to Ghana, you realize that we also had a drop in cargo throughput in 2021.
Right.
Especially, I say that contraction came at the back of the pandemic.
Right.
It was something that was expected. But by 2022, 2023, we had begun ascending. And in 2023, I think the ports of Tema and Takoradi made in total about 26 million tons of cargo, which indeed is very significant, especially if you consider it from the backdrop of the pandemic and then the dire economic straits in which the country finds itself.
Yes.
There still are a number of challenges, that affect the outlook, especially in 2024. For example, I have been an advocate of the general elections being held in November. I even sometimes think that, look, even much earlier than November should be fine, because of the fact that there is a certain level of tension, that characterizes our elections. And around that time, it doesn't augur well for business. So there is a lot of wait-and-see attitude. People want to see what would happen. And the Christmas period is, in fact, a very important period for us as far as the trade is concerned, and especially our international trade. So people order ahead of time, but sometimes they are not very certain, and certainty is key as far as trade is concerned. And when they are not certain, sometimes they are not too sure how much of importation they should bring around this period. Because remember, our elections is in December.
Yes.
And that's the same time we are inching towards Christmas.
Yes.
So I have always been an advocate of bringing the elections much earlier. Only from the economic standpoint.
Yes.
That is the way I have looked at it. If you take container transport, for example, I think once again we suffered a drop in about 2021.
Right.
Bringing the number of TEUs to about 1.2 million tons, whilst prior pandemic we had hit about 1.6 million TEUs.
Right.
So we are expecting that by end of 2024 we should be climbing back. Around 1.4 million TEUs to the 1.6 million TEUs.
Yeah.
I was in the port last week, and I realized that as far as the MPS was concerned, you could see that a lot of containers had come into the port. So I tried to make some inquiries. And in actual fact, it's not something that is a permanent feature.
Right.
I think there were some two ultra-large container carriers which came with some containers that were meant for other destinations.
Right.
Some were meant for going to Mauritania and places like that. So, and Senegal, Dakar, for that matter. So it meant that a lot of containers came into the port. But we should not be deceived. These were not cargoes meant for Ghana. These were cargoes on transshipment. So while we see an improvement in terms of traffic coming to the port, we should not be deluded by the volume of containers which we have seen in the first 2 months of the year. I was speaking to Mohammed, from MPS, and he explained quite clearly. He explained quite clearly that this is what accounts for the increase in containers which you see in the port. But as I said, generally, for 2024, the outlook is good.
Right.
You know, post-pandemic, the slight increases,
yes,
the green shoots that are showing that indeed we are likely to have more cargo coming through our ports.
Yes.
Tema and Takoradi in 2024. But as I said, the election year and the time for the elections is always a matter of concern. Always a matter of concern. So while we are positive, at the same time, it's imperative that we are cautious in terms of how we manage our things. So when you ask me for the outlook for 2024, I would, in one word, say positive.
Very positive. Yeah, positive or very positive?
Positive.
Positive,
I'll say positive. I would not say very positive, you know, because, you know...
You're being cautiously optimistic.
Yes, there's been a lot of cry also. I mean, if you take the fact that exchange rate levels, you know, have now reached about 13.5, going to about 13.8 cedis to $1.
Yes.
You know, it's worrying. It's disturbing. Quite frankly, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
You know, because for a vehicle, you know, that you bought at maybe 50,000 United States dollars,
yes,
you know, and pay the duty of about maybe 30 to 40 thousand Ghana cedis. For that same, you'll be paying over 100,000 Ghana cedis now. You get me? So, indeed, the exchange rate factor is very important, and it gets to a certain level that it definitely affects trade. That is why we need to be cautiously optimistic.
Awesome. So I recall last year we had a program here, and you called for a lot of fixation, you know, focus on the maritime industry, the shipping industry, to develop it, to serve at some point as an economic buffer stock, you know, as an economic buffer, if you like. And I just want to find out from you, since then, whether you've been able to figure out one or two things that looks quite progressive in this direction that you'd want to perhaps share with us.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of awareness, I would say there has been a great deal of awareness. I have seen that at the level of the presidency, you know, the Sustainable Development Goals, there is an office, you know, which has tended attention to maritime, etc. But beyond the rhetoric, there has not been much.
Right.
Quite frankly, there hasn't been much. You know, only this week, as I said, I was going towards the port. And when you look at the Regional Maritime University, you have been driving on that route every time.
Yes.
When you get out of the gate of the Regional Maritime
University,
you are driving towards Tema.
Yes.
I mean, look at what is happening.
The road,
And on your right side,
yes,
the place that abuts the sea.
Exactly.
Prime
development, sure.
Prime land. You know, fitting shops, mechanic workshops, you know, and you'd find haphazard development. You know, and this is something that can generate enormous revenue for this country. You know, and yet, we haven't turned our attention
to it.
We're waiting for what? So, if you ask me, I'll say yes, there's been some attention paid, but I think it's more of theory than practical, more of rhetoric than anything else. Not much has been done in that regard.
Let me also find out from you, I know you played a key role when the National Integrated Maritime Strategy was being rolled out. I think we even met in Authority-GPHA, you know, during that time and all that. I just want to find out from you whether you've taken time to follow the progress of the names in terms of implementation and how it's panning out.
Yeah, the names. You know, like many of its kind.
Yeah.
You know, the euphoria is great. You know, I think that the president himself was there to, as it were, accept the document, you know, and all of that. But if you recall, I told you on that date that, look, while the names is good, in terms of strategy, in terms of what it proposes, because it has some policy elements as well, I told you that, look, it should have come on the back of a comprehensive maritime policy.
Absolutely. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah,
Actually,
so
yes.
then that maritime policy will be the basis for the formulation of a strategy to implement that policy. You know, so when you put the strategy ahead of the policy, it's like you are putting the
cart before the horse.
So you would find out that yes, it's been completed. It's a good document. You know, we all realize it, but there are challenges because the building blocks to get it off the ground have not been put in place. I know that there are attempts to develop what we call an ocean policy.
Okay.
You know, ocean policy, again, from the Office of the President, the office that is responsible for the sustainable development goals.
Yes.
You know, but it's important that we don't do these things in silos. You know, the level of integration is important. To what extent are they working with academia? To what extent are they working with the Ministry of Transport? To what extent are they working with the agencies and the Ministry of Transport? Get me? So that if we are not careful, then we have so much of a focus on the public international law aspects of things rather than the private, you know. But there should be a good fusion between these two. You know, so it's important going forward that the coordination, you know, should come. The coordination should come. They should be more integrated, you know, so that we can see that quite clearly. You know, the last time I talked about the blue economy, what the blue economy offers, etc. In fact, I would think that, you know, we are all now against the creation of new ministries. And, new, if you like, authorities, etc. But the point is that if we want to highlight and pay attention, you know, to the maritime sector, we should be considering, for example, a title like Ministry of Transport and Blue Economy. You know, Ministry of Transport and Blue Economy.
To emphasize on the blue economy.
So that at least in our minds, we don't lose track of the blue economy and its potential. You know, so that, for example, is something I believe we should be looking at going forward.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so I just want us to take a look at this issue of multimodal transport in our country. We're talking about connectivity in terms of the supply chain and transporting cargo from one point to the other. We have our neighboring Sahaelian countries. I don't know what's become of their quest to secede from ECOWAS and all that. That's another story to discuss, you know, some other day. But we just want to find out from you how important it is. You've hammered the need for it. Whether you've monitored any progress, and want to find out from you the real network in our country. What should we be doing?
And unfortunately, we don't have the network. We don't have the network. You know? I think I've said it before at one of our programs that in all my research, in all my work, I have not found any country that calls itself developed. You know, especially countries which have a large land mass, you know, which have not developed on the back of the railway. So the prioritization of the railway as part of the network for multimodal transport is a sine qua non. It's key. You can't do without.
Again, it's a sine
qua non.
That's a legal.
No, it's not legal. It's English.
Okay.
It's something you cannot do without.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So it's so crucial. It's pivotal. You get me? It is a fulcrum on which a lot of things revolve.
Absolutely.
So if you don't have a good railway system, the multimodal you are talking about, you'll find it very difficult. You know, because there should be integrated transport. From road to rail to waterway, etc. You know, we've been doing this Tema Mpakadan railway line. But are we terminating it over there at Mpakadan? Get me? Do we have the resources to do the continuation? You know, so it's important for us to highlight this and to prioritize them if we must make meaning of our multimodal transport, and to make sure we are utilizing the resources that God has given to us. You know.
Okay, so take a look at the global supply chain and how it is evolving with the advent of technology. There's a lot of technological penetration in most of the places that we practice. As far as the supply chain is concerned, Ghana, we can boast of a lot of these in our ports, automation, digitalization, and all that, and other ports neighboring. How have you viewed this?
It's important and it's key. Recently, if you recall, some two days of internet disruptions.
And everything went,
showed us quite clearly.
We slowed down, absolutely.
Yeah, it showed us quite clearly where we could get to.
Yeah.
Get me?
Yeah.
Because today, we've become so dependent on this.
Yeah.
Submarine cables have been a feature of our lives for a very long time. Today, there are also satellite options.
Yeah.
We also could be looking at terrestrial options.
Yes.
We'll be looking at offline arrangements, as ways of looking at this. Because, look, just for those 2 days, we could tell quite clearly the ICOMs went down.
Yes.
The downtimes
yes.
were massive.
Yeah.
And consequently, it affected duty payment.
Yeah,
and remember that we rely
as a country, absolutely.
As a country on these duties.
Yes.
It affected the shipping lines themselves because of connectivity.
Yes.
And consequently, it meant that people could not clear.
Yeah.
They couldn't clear their containers.
International trade was hampered.
Demurrage issues. Even the Port Authority itself, its Outlook system, by which it disseminates information. So you come to realize that, indeed, digitalization has come to stay. But how robust are we in terms of the alternatives that we put in place? The backup systems, such that we'll be able to switch.
Yes.
And also, the extent to which we could fall, for example, on regional arrangements.
Right.
On regional arrangements. So we have a strong backbone in the region such that we don't have to rely so much on these international networks. And we can fall on these.
Right.
So the options are important. The digitalization is key. It is the driver now. We've talked about the single window system. We've talked about ICOMs. Even when we talk about the bill of lading, it is changing in character.
Right.
If we talk about the way in which shipment, we still use the word telex messages, etc. But today, if you look at the transmission of information between local agents and then principals outside, for cargo to be cleared, for clearance to be given, etc. All of these are dependent on the internet.
Right.
And consequently, it's become imperative that we have a strong backbone. We have alternatives in various forms, such that we would not be found wanting when these things happen.
Awesome. This is Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television, and tonight I'm in the studios with Dr. Emmanuel Kofimbia, who is a private legal practitioner. He's a maritime consultant and a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. And we're taking a look at the global maritime economy in 2024, some projections, some trends, and indeed some happenings in the shipping industry in our country, Ghana. That's what we're discussing tonight. We're going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with the show. Please stay with us.
Guys, no, I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talking about Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Fill up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mommy.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, streetlights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse. And my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance Motor Policy. Currently, my goods are on the high seas, covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor,
I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance
for the projects and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302 246 319 or 0243 690 492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. This is Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television tonight. We have in the studios Dr. Emmanuel Kofimbia, who is a private legal practitioner. He's a maritime consultant. He's also a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. And we're discussing the global maritime economy in the year 2024 and what the trends and projections are, what we should be looking out for. We also have bits and pieces of what's happening in our own country, Ghana. And he has spoken a lot about what we should be expecting. I mean, that was in his initial submission in the year 2024. Your messages are coming in thick and fast, and so I'll be coming into the inbox so we can share them with you. We also like to inform you that the lines have been activated, and so you can call in and contribute to the discussion. The line is right on your screen, 020-552-8353, 020-552-8353. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Now, I think I have this one from some students that Doc has taught. One of them is my own boss, Bright Andy, the Estates and Environment Manager, Tema Port. He says, I have informed my mates that I have dedicated today's program to them, class of 2023 maritime law students of University of Ghana School of Law. I'm out of town at the moment. Okay, and he goes further to say that Dr. Emmanuel Kofimbia is the best lecturer we have ever had. He's so good at his job and he knows what he's about. So this is something from your students. They are watching us via social media and all that, and they would want to applaud you for the good job you are doing. They are assimilating whatever you are impacting on to them. Yes. Yes, so this one is from Ohima. She says, Ohima in Tema, Pauline Brockwell, she says, good evening, Iron Port. Very insightful discussion. Now that the NIMS has been prepared without a maritime policy, how do we right the wrong? Would we have to do a new NIMS if we should develop a new maritime policy? Doc, this one is from Ohima to you. If you would oblige her.
I should answer now.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, Doc. Sure.
I think it's a good point she makes there. As I said to you the other day,
yes,
the NIMS is strategy.
Right.
Get me. However, it has some snippets of policy in there. So we don't have to come back and do something completely new.
Right.
But we have to try as much as possible to isolate the areas that are key in terms of policy.
Right.
And then fuse it into a comprehensive policy. And then look at whether the strategies which we have would deal effectively and efficiently with all those policy dimensions that we want to look at.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a completely new thing. The NIMS is still very useful. It's still a very important document. It could be always a starting point for dealing with these matters.
Okay. This one says, so with the vessels choosing to pass through the Southern Cape, this means we will pay more for our freight. And this is sad, Dr. Mbia. We are already suffering from the cost of shipping, even as things were. Where do we go from here? Vera in Nungwa sent in this one.
Yes, I mean, she's quite right. As I said, the impact of the disruptions in the Red Sea, are not direct as far as Ghana is concerned.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the map which I showed to you,
yes,
it's quite clear that from Europe, instead of going through the Suez Canal, which is in the middle, and cuts the journey short,
yes,
they have to come around the Cape of Good Hope.
Yes.
But the point is that this is not cargoes that are coming to Ghana.
Right.
Essentially, this is Europe, Asia.
Right.
That is the nature of the trade. However, there is always an indirect impact. There is an indirect impact because, remember, raw materials are moving, manufacturing is taking place, there is just-in-time concepts.
Yes.
And consequently, we who get goods also from Europe,
right,
there is also a likelihood that these will escalate in terms of freight rates,
right,
which freight rates have cascaded as a result of the problem in the Red Sea.
Right.
So it has an indirect impact as far as Ghana is concerned.
Right.
And then maybe let me just mention something because this is for the port. Looking ahead, looking at the crystal ball and what is happening. Unless there are some major shifts, if you do a close study, you will realize that some bulk importers are now breaking the bulk and shipping in containers.
Right.
Because the economic crunch, the difficulties in shipping those large volumes at a time and paying so much by way of duties.
Right.
So they are bringing the cargo in, but the volumes have reduced, and they are putting them in containers. And going forward, we need to take a keen look at that, especially as the port has, if you like, largely ceded containerization to MPS, and it's dealing more with bulk and general cargo.
Right.
Something that we need to be looking at.
Consider. Okay. All right. This one says, my name is Kwame in Tema. Tell Dr. Mbia I too dream of a time where we can transform that beach road stretch to become a top marine drive to boost real estate and tourism. From his experience, how do we get such a project off the ground? Because, like him, I believe it's a potential gold mine for the nation.
Yes. Last time I think I mentioned, you can't wish things to be, get me? And you can't get things done and done properly without having a plan.
Right.
You need to have a plan, and that is why we have something we call marine spatial planning.
Right.
We have about 550,000 kilometers of coastline.
Right.
Get me? Have you mapped out the entire coastline so that you have spatial planning? You have places that are reserved, There are places that for ecological purposes,
yes,
you don't go there, you don't touch them at all, for preservation,
yes,
conservation. there are places which you designate for tourism and
Right.
tourist purposes. So if he's asking how it is done, the key thing is we have to have marine spatial planning.
Right.
We have to put all of these things and connect the dots and ensure that there is a proper plan that takes account of the coast all the way from Aflao to Hafasini. So we need to bear that in mind.
Right.
If we plan and we do that and we give ourselves a target, gradually we will develop our coastline.
Right. This one says we cannot develop a good maritime industry without good rails. The efficiency of the local supply chain hinges on this. The next government must treat rail as an emergency and put everything into it. Maxwell in Kumasi sent in this.
Yes, he's very right. Our performance, when it comes to the Logistics Performance Index,
yes,
LPI, has not been too good over the years. We have hovered sometimes around, out of 139 countries, we've hovered around 79, 80, thereabouts, which is not too good.
Yes.
We are only better than Nigeria.
Right.
But out of a mark of about 5, we are around 2.2. So the point he makes is relevant. The Logistics Performance Index looks at factors such as tracking and tracing. It looks at the speed within which business is done at the ports, the clearance processes, the level of container penetration in the port, the level of technological penetration. All of these are important in determining your Logistics Performance Index. That is why we are not doing too well. So when you talk about the cost of doing business,
yes,
cost of doing business being high,
yes,
it's a reflection of our Logistics Performance Index.
That was actually going to be my next question to you, because it's become a mainstay discussion. That's the cost of doing business. There's high taxes and duties, associated with the clearance of goods at the port or doing business generally in the port. I just want to find out from you how you view this particular trend, the way taxes and duties are being administered in our ports, how it is impacting the sector.
Yeah. Ken, you recall, I have made this claim before that yes, I don't think that we've made some comparative studies here and there in terms of duty rates, and they are not at huge variances if you compare them to our neighbors. The point has to do with the stability of our currency. Stability of our currency. It has a phenomenal impact.
Yes.
And consequently, I've been an advocate for, look, why don't we? Because this permeates into the system from the micro level to the macro level. So why don't we? We can start off. I know government is thinking about revenue, etc., but we can start off pegging the exchange rate as far as duties are concerned. A period of 3 months, stabilize it, fix it. This is the exchange rate we will be using over the next 3 months.
Yes.
And let us see how it works, because it is the same thing that leads to the inflationary pressures. So if you cleared a container at 10 to $1 just a couple of months ago, and now you have to do 13 to $1. When you are importing your next consignment, you don't work on the basis of 13 to the dollar. You work on the basis of 15 to the dollar.
Right.
And we are already reckoning that we may be hitting by April around 14 to 15 cedis to the dollar. So that is critical. The duties by themselves have not gone up.
Right.
But the exchange rate as a factor is critical. And sometimes on the back of that, I hear people talk about, we are losing cargo to Lome. We are losing cargo to Lome. We can't just lose cargo to Lome because of the exchange rate. Because the point is that, like it or not, if you bring your cargo through Aflao, you still have to pay the duty. If it is 13.50 cedis to the dollar, you still will have to pay 13.50 to the dollar.
Right.
So there are two factors that are there. One, the ship calls. Are we having lesser ship calls? Which ship calls are terminating in Lome rather than in Tema? That is not the case. The statistics doesn't bear that out.
Right.
Cargo. How many trucks, are you seeing moving from Aflao and coming to town? And no reasonable businessman, as it were, doing volumes, for example, would deposit his cargo in Lome and track them to Accra, to Kumasi, etc. No. So it's a misnomer. That thing is not true. It's not accurate.
Right.
And we need to make that clear that Ghana is not losing traffic to Lome.
Lome, okay.
But having said that, when it comes to your question, as I said, the challenge is not so much the duty levels.
Right.
The challenge is the exchange rate levels.
Right.
And therefore, if we can stabilize just for the purpose of imports, if we can have a period, 3 months, maybe eventually we look at 6 months, peg the rate of the foreign currency to the city for the purpose of clearance. You know, even if you recall, some time ago, every Monday, the rate changed.
Yes.
Until we made arguments. Again,
I think it used to be every Tuesday.
Canvassed. Now it's every Tuesday.
Yes.
But hitherto, if you did not finish clearing on Friday, on Monday, I was done with Ghana Shippers Authority.
Yes.
And I do recall, we pushed this and pushed it and pushed it until now we are up to Tuesday.
Right.
But I believe we can stretch this further.
Right.
We can stretch this further.
Right.
And it's important that it is done because, as I said, it is part of the reason for the inflationary pressures, especially when you talk about the food inflation that is based on the import food inflation, import inflation.
Right. Okay. So let's take a look at the Russia-Ukraine war. It doesn't seem to be short-lived. It doesn't seem. It seems it's going to fester on and linger on for some time. I just want to find out from you what your view about this one is and how it will affect, Ghana's international trade. And also the crisis within the Red Sea, if you can touch on it also briefly.
Yes. I told you that if you want to have an outlook for 2024, even for the medium term, you need to look at the geopolitical tension.
Absolutely, yes.
And I mentioned the pandemic has come and gone, but the Russian-Ukraine war, the Red Sea issue. At the onset, the impact of the Russian-Ukraine war was very huge. And you would recall that it meant that the IMO had to intervene, what was referred to as the Black Sea Initiative.
Right.
In which there were negotiations to allow the shipment of grain, which has piled up. But the war is still going on.
Yes.
Consequently, remember that therefore makes it a war risk zone. And consequently, insurance premiums are still high going into that place. At the same time, seafarers are having challenges going into that place because it's still a war zone. And consequently, anything can happen. Once they get there. At the same time, remember that the whole of the Black Sea region, from the Sea of Azov to Odessa, and all of those places are having challenges because of the movement, of grain from these areas. Oil and oil products as well, as far as Russia is concerned, is also facing challenges. Crew change, as I indicated, is a problem. You cannot change over crew when you go to these places. You have to come to Turkey. Then you have to go back, etc. So it's still posing challenges, to international trade. As far as Ghana is concerned, this is not very significant as far as we are concerned. Yes, in terms of grain shipments, we have suffered, some drawbacks in terms of grain shipments, etc. But now we are getting grains from the prairies in Canada and from other locations. Rice is coming from the Far East. The impact is not very significant. But the challenge is that if it drags on, like it's doing now, we all thought 24th February, into a year. Now it's on 2 years, and it's terrible. So it's likely to have an impact in the long term on trade flows, supply chain, etc.
Right. Okay, so the decarbonization of the shipping industry, what do you make of it and Ghana's contribution to fight,
I said the green shipping, green transition, but emphasize the word just.
Yes.
Just.
Yes.
So we need to look at the green and just transition.
Right.
Because we're talking about $270 billion.
Absolutely.
Things in place. They are doing retrofitting. Today, new vessels are coming on board. Some are changing their engines. They are doing more environmentally friendly fuels.
Yeah.
So all of this comes at a cost.
Right.
How ready is Africa?
Absolutely.
How ready is Ghana?
Yeah.
I did a work recently for Global Compact.
Right.
Which was trying to make an assessment in terms of the minute details.
Right.
What are we doing? Not only to talk about ships and, in terms of, if you like, fossil fuels and atmospheric pollution,
right.
etc. But what are we doing in our own small places? And I was happy to learn about the Port Authority, for example, the measures that they have put in place.
Yes.
Where they can use solar panels, they're using solar panels.
Absolutely.
The lights are all, what's the term for it? They use some, so you get into the room before the lights comes on.
Yes,
there
absolutely.
are sensors.
Yes.
Yes.
There's nobody in the room.
Nobody
the
in the room. The lights are off.
Sure,
When you enter, there are sensors. I know not only the Ports and Harbours Authority, but a few other organizations in the maritime industry. I did a research that evaluated what they were doing in terms of the separation of garbage.
Right. Segregation,
plastics, paper,
sure.
bottles, etc.
Yes.
And gradually, these things. So all of them have an impact, as far as climate change is concerned. So once we are able to achieve certain levels in this direction, then we could drag on as far as the atmospheric pollution from ships are concerned. Because the magnitude is then reduced.
Right.
So the little that each one is doing in its own organization,
right,
in terms of ensuring the lights are off when they ought to be off, ensuring that the curtains are open, there is enough light coming in, air conditions are not on all the time. So all of these things contribute to that climate change. So decarbonization is indeed very important for the shipping industry, even though the shipping industry's contribution is just about 3%. But quite frankly, for developing economies, we face an uphill task. And that is why I talk about a green and just transition. Just because it needs to take account of the interest of developing economies. So all plans that are developed by the IMO, looking at the 2030 agenda, should take into consideration the impact of these on developing economies.
Yes. Right. Okay, so Ghana's foremost maritime trading institution, you would agree, is the Regional Maritime University, and we pick signals. They are awaiting approval to embark on some modernization of the institution. I think last year we had a program here where some of the officials there intimated to us that they were expecting some $168 million, to undertake to undertake this particular modernization. Yes, just want to find out from you as a professional in the industry what you expect to see in terms of modernizing the RMU.
I've been involved in a number of educational institutions, and I've tried to look at what sometimes they have tried to do.
Yes.
First, I think it's important to know the curriculum.
Yes.
Curriculum. What exactly, working together with industry.
Yes.
So that the academia and industry are not at cross purposes.
Right.
It is important that industry should work also with academia. There should be a cross-fertilization of ideas. Looking also into the future.
Right.
Today, we are talking about maritime autonomous surface ships.
Right.
Certain kind of technology will be required. Today, we're talking about capsules that are taking people under the sea. Those who went to see the Titanic and could not see the Titanic and they died. What is the legal framework that ought to be in place? So, the curriculum should be built such that it anticipates, such that it is innovative in character, such that it brings creativity
Right.
You know, so the old things of yesteryear, they are important as a background, but our focus should be the future.
Right.
We should be looking ahead. Then it's important that the university should be very well equipped.
Okay.
A lot of things are based on technology.
Right.
You know, you can't, very simple terms, you can't be teaching people about a mouse and then they don't have any mouse to look at and they think that the mouse is the house mouse that you are talking about.
Yeah,
You know? So the equipment itself is important.
Right.
It should be well resourced. And I'm thinking that the modernization they are talking about should include this. You know, they should be more practically oriented.
Yeah.
You know, yes, there is always a theoretical basis for a number of things, but they should be more practically oriented.
Right.
Such that if you take the oil and gas industry, for example, to what extent can they benefit from it?
Right.
We should not just be looking at the sea as a place for fishing and for ships to traverse.
Right.
But we should be asking questions, you know, that because the sea can give us wave energy,
right,
it can give us wind energy, it can give us fish.
Yeah.
Can we also train people to build boats?
Right.
So we should look beyond the immediate.
Right.
We should look at the long chain that enables people to harness the potential.
Okay.
The white man saw that, look, because of the depth of the seas, etc., it's possible to carry today 240,000 TEUs in a ship. You get me? So I will build something like that. That is the sort of thinking I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The thinking that is forward-looking. That enables us to look at the immediate and use that to calculate the future. That will be important for the regional maritime university. And it ought to be resourced also in terms of capacity of lecturers. You know, because garbage in, garbage out. You know? And if you don't have good lecturers, well resourced, you know, who have the expertise, people will come and teach and teach garbage. Because they themselves, they don't have the experience, the expertise that goes with it. So these, for me, are some of the key things that I want to see.
Right.
They should be resourced, one, in terms of the technology. Also, they should be resourced and have a link with industry.
Right.
They should be more creative and innovative in looking forward. You know, and then they should build capacity of the lecturers themselves.
Right. Awesome.
These, I believe, are important. It's important that they do some of these things.
Awesome. Right. Thank you very much indeed. Dr. Emmanuel Kofimbia, private legal practitioner, maritime consultant, senior lecturer, University of Ghana, who joined us in the studio tonight for Eye on Port. Remember, we're taking a look at the global maritime economy and the trends and projections for 2024 and some happenings indeed in the industry in our own country, Ghana. I would like to say a big thank you to you for being our guest. We say big thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. Remember, the show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority-GPHA. We thank you so much, and we entreat you to watch the abridged version of Eye on Port on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. My name is Kennedy Mona. God willing, next week, Sunday, we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of Eye on Port. Wish you a super week ahead, and thank you for choosing us. Good evening.